I have to make sure that the thing is muted. Okay. All right. With that said, are there any questions that you guys have over what you saw with the given solutions last night? No, you feel good? All right. Then you have a note card on your desk. So after, you don't need to resubmit this document since you guys already graded it. I know there was a mistake on those two, but I won't hold that against you because that was my mistake. So you don't need to resubmit that. But you do have a note card on your desk. And so here's what I would ask of you. And Olivia, if you can just on campus me your response for this so I can fill out a note card for you as well. If you could put your name at the top of the note card. And then if you could think about 3 statements about yourself. If you could make 2 statements of those true and 1 statement a lie. So complete 2 truths and a lie. Don't mark which one is the lie. And you can or you cannot choose the 3rd one to be the lie. But you do want to stump the class. We're going to try to have to guess which one is the lie. And you can be, you can really choose how you want to respond. I've had students, like, this is really designed for me to get to know you, for the class to get to know you. So I've had students put on there, like, I've been in baseball for 10 years. When in reality it was 9 years, and that happened to be their lie, but we got to know that they were in baseball. And I typically ask them, like, whoa, so what got you into baseball? And I ask a little bit more about it. You could put down a statement that you really think will stump the class. For example, I think I told you guys this is my 15th year teaching here. It was a while ago, I think it was like 10 or more years ago, whenever Miley Cyrus was Hannah Montana. I don't know if you guys even know, but she used to be on the Disney Channel. She was Hannah Montana, and she was like a Disney young star. And I had a student put on their note card that they had hung out with her over the summer. And we all raised our hand. We thought it was the lie, because who hangs out with Miley Cyrus over a summer? And it turned out to be true. And he shared the story, which was just kind of a shocking story, that his friend knew her and she happened to be at the same place he was. And so they hung out over the summer. So it was just kind of a unique story about him. So again, you can be as kind of however you want it to be, but we're going to read the 3. How this will work is, as you guys are grading homework, typically, I will read the 3 statements. We as a class will raise our hand on which one we think is the lie. And obviously different people will choose which one they think is the lie. You don't win anything, you win pride points. But then I ask if you need prayer about anything that day. I typically pray to start the class. So if you guys could take a moment to think about these and fill them out, I'll walk around in a little bit to see if you, when you're finished, I'll collect the card. And then after you finish that, if you could download P2 notes. What? she there? Olivia, can you hear me?
Hello? Yeah.
Oh, did I lose you at all? My computer like literally crashed. Were you there?
Yeah, I think you left for 1 second.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. Good, good, good. Now we're here. Okay. Oh, but I'm still talking to Mr. Bishop. All right, guys. If you're finished, I'm going to come around and collect it. If you are not finished, that's fine. Just make sure you give it to me before you leave here. And if you could, please make sure to download P2 notes. Yeah. No, don't tell me which one's the lie. I like to guess too.
Wait, that's my name.
Yeah, do put your name on it because I share like who we're getting to know about. Wow. Good. It's totally good. I can get it.
Yeah.
It's all good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I don't think I have my way.
Did you finish?
Yeah.
Oh. It says we're done at 3, so.
No, it's like, it's even. I haven't done it.
Oh, mine said it, we're done at 3.
I looked, it's just like.
Or it's just like third day school.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah. You're like, oh, it's
In case you forget. Oh, did you finish? I'm sorry.
Oh.
It's all good. All right, guys, let's do. There's my note card thing.
oh my gosh, I know.
Let's do one of these while we're finishing up or downloading P2. What?
Where's the same?
I'll talk about that in a moment. Thank you for asking on that, 'cause that reminds me. It stands for prerequisites, but I'll tell you.
No.
All right.
Yeah, we're like cartoon.
All right, today's person of the day is Peter. Peter, can you raise your hand so we can all see where you're at? There he is.
Hi, Peter.
2 truths and a lie about Peter. Number 1, I'm from Germany. Number 2, I have 4 sisters. The older is a freshman at Wheaton. The younger 3 are going to Franklin and Lowell. And number 3, I'm from West Chicago. All right, so you have to raise your hand on which one is the lie. Either he's from Germany, he has 4 sisters, one goes to Wheaton College. Wow, 4 sisters. That would mean that he'd have 5 kids and he would be the only boy. Wow, that's a lot. Or he's from West Chicago. Okay, which one do you think is the lie? Raise your hand if you think it's number 1. I'm from Germany. Everybody believes. Oh, Haley doesn't believe it. All right, Haley could be the only one right on this. She could be the only one right. Is it number 2? I have 4 sisters. The older is a freshman at Wheaton. The younger 3 are going to Franklin and Lowell.
I think we like switched up the names of schools.
Everybody believes this one. I'm gonna raise my hand. I think you have 3 sisters. No, Katie, you're with me. All right. Or is it number 3? I'm from West Chicago. Most people think it's that one.
Yeah.
All right, Peter, which one's the lie?
The second one.
Katie, all right, we got this. Okay. So wait, how many sisters do you have?
3.
3. Look at that. Wow, I've been playing this a while. Okay, so you have 3 sisters, and is the older one a freshman? Okay, the younger. Wow. So, but there are 4 siblings, and you're the only boy?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Anything you can take away from your experience? That we,
Wait,
case-
you will understand.
in case somebody like has a boy and 3 girls, any advice you could give them in their future? Nothing you could think of. Okay. And you really are from Germany.
I mean, from there. I've been living with the past 5 years.
You've been living here for the past 5 years.
Germany.
Germany for the past 5 years. So this is your first year back here? Like,
Yeah, this is my only year back here. I'm going back after this.
you're going back to Germany? You're leaving us?
Yeah.
Huh, yeah, totally, yeah.
We're still American citizens. For my first 10 years, I was
In America? Okay. So your first 10 years you were in West Chicago.
Yeah.
Then you went to Germany.
Germany because my parents were Michigan.
Wow.
And every 5 years, you're an American citizen, but you come back every year.
Really? To maintain citizenship?
Something about that, just German.
Just the Germany what?
Just the German. says that.
Wow.
I
Why
don't
is
think
that?
Canadians don't have to do it. Nobody else has to do it.
Just the Americans have to do it?
Yeah.
Huh. Wow. So are you excited to go back to Germany?
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of. Let me ask you this. What is your favorite thing about America and your favorite thing about Germany? Food here, 100% over German food.
Chick-fil-A. Are you kidding me?
Okay, he has
All right.
he has a point.
He has what?
He has a point. He does Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I love the food here, but I've been in America my whole life, so I don't know. But
So what one, like, what's the worst food here? Yeah, like what's.
The worst. food?
I can
Yeah. Spicy.
Bland,
not
just like-
exist.
Oh,
You get
There's no-
spicy and it's like.
It's just like bland,
Literally
seasoned
no
bread,
wow.
everything's wet.
It's so weird.
Although that's a little concerning for German people who come here and then have something
Yeah.
spicy.
Yeah,
Like, I feel like that would be,
They probably have like a
And I got
sprinkle
the
of salt.
spiciest salsa because I'm like German.
oh, so you have to be careful.
Like, I
Oh,
couldn't taste anything. It was. it was so
oh, wow.
Wait, you
bad.
see.
Wait, are you actually from now? Right, moved here?
Well, he's lived there for 5 years. He's from West Chicago.
Like, is he German?
Oh, well, that's a good question. Are you German?
He
No.
looked German.
So what made your parents choose Germany?
Yeah.
My
Actually, I am too.
dad's brother.
Like everybody's all
Okay,
So we live in a.
so your uncle lived there already.
Yes, we live as a missionary,
Okay,
and we live in a missionary community. And I think southwestern, and so, yeah, that's just like, that's how she is there.
wow, wow.
Wait, can you speak German?
I'm gonna say yes,
Wait,
but.
No, that was.
She's like 2 Americans, I can speak German. 2 Germans, I do not speak, well, good German. All right. And Peter, what's your favorite thing about Germany?
I'm really not sure the mountain.
The mountain. Yeah, I've gotta imagine the scenery is better than Illinois. I would imagine.
Talking about the grass, fields, the snow, the snow, and slush and scorches.
All right, Peter, is there anything that you need a prayer for today?
No.
Okay. All right, if you guys could bow your heads and then we'll start into this. Heavenly Father, God, I thank you for the gift of today. God, I'm so often reminded that each day is a gift from you. God, I pray that we would live this day out in light of that we would take advantage of opportunities to pour out your grace and your kindness and your love to others. Lord, that we would treasure the moments you give us. And in the moment, Lord, help us to be in tune with your spirit and what you would have for us. Lord, I lift up Peter. I pray that he would have an excellent year here. God, that he would thrive, that he would flourish, that he would feel your great love and your provision over him. And Lord, as he does continue to go back to Germany, Lord, I just pray for your guidance, your wisdom, your protection, your love. God, I pray that he would thrive in all areas of his life. And Lord, that he would feel your presence all throughout and respond in the way that you'd have him. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, guys. So these ladies up front right here actually asked an excellent question about what does the P stand for in that P2? Most of us would think part 2, but then it says part 1. We haven't actually been in our college algebra book yet, but if you look at the college algebra book, the whole entire first chapter is called prerequisites. The reason it's called prerequisites is because it's really the pre-knowledge that you need to know it well to be able to fully understand the Algebra 2 content. So the prerequisites are all skills you should have seen or developed in Algebra 1. But I will be honest with you, we are going to be in the prerequisite chapter for a couple months because we know that your algebra background is different. And we, as a school, want to make sure that you have a good foundation of your Algebra 1 content that you should have mastered so that when we do really start diving into the Algebra 2 portion of the curriculum, you will feel confident and you will be just simplifying with ease. So with that said, some of you chapter P is going to feel maybe very easy to you. You had a really strong algebra background. You remember everything from Algebra 1. and you're going to be super ready to fly when we hit chapter 1. Some of you, chapter P might feel a little bit more difficult for you. It's been a while since you've seen algebra, and you just really need the practice. You might even need a little bit of additional practice. But chapter P is where we are all going to start out on the same level playing field, so that when we move into chapter 1, we can really move well together. So with that said, in the prerequisite section of part 2 of your book, we start with learning about the types of numbers you were introduced to in Algebra 1. All of the numbers that you've worked with so far, most likely the numbers you've worked with so far, are the real numbers. There is a set of imaginary numbers. Has anyone worked with imaginary numbers before? Oh, Peter, did you do it in Germany?
Yeah.
All right, okay. So Peter, right now we're reviewing what we know about real numbers. In America, the Algebra 1 curriculum typically only teaches about real numbers. Now within the real number system, there are a bunch of different classifications. The first set of numbers are called natural numbers. These feel the most natural to us. They were what you were taught first. I liked Sesame Street a lot as a kid. I don't know, do they even still have Sesame Street?
Yeah.
Do they have it? It was my favorite show.
You were scared.
Really scared you.
We all were. I haven't seen the Elmo and I literally cried. I had to grow up.
Oh no!
I think I was scared
Oh,
of the garage kind of thing.
Oh, man.
I was scared of the word.
Oscar's the best.
Oscar. I was scared.
All right. We need to get back to, if you liked Sesame Street, or even if you didn't like Sesame Street, natural is where you would find Count Dracula. He started with teaching you the natural numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what you guys were taught first. So your natural numbers, those are your counting numbers. They feel the most natural. And I always like to put numbers to words. So the examples of natural numbers would include 1, 2, 3, 4, ... Now, after you started getting a little bit older, then they introduced you to another number, the concept of 0. And because 0 is sometimes a hard thing for people to grasp, wait a minute, I'll tell you a story about my son Samuel, but he had a really hard time grasping nothing. So when you can understand nothing, then you can understand whole numbers. Whole numbers are just all of your counting numbers, including 0. Go ahead and write that in. They're your counting numbers, including 0. And I like examples of what that includes. So the example of whole numbers includes 0, 1, 2, 3, ... When I first taught math, I thought, why have a whole nother category just to include 0? But when I became a mom, I tried to teach my kids, like, hey, if you do chores, you can get things back. And my son Samuel, he's the youngest, I told them, okay, go do these chores and you can have a piece of candy. Well, Landon, my oldest, he's very compliant. He just went and did them. My youngest Samuel, he likes to do his own thing. So he goes, no, I do it. No, I'm not doing it. Okay, that's fine. So Samuel came back, he got a piece of candy. And Samuel was so shocked that I gave Landon candy and I didn't give him candy. And he came up to me and he did this. He took his arms out and he goes, Mom, but I have nothing. I have nothing in my hands. Like you put something in my brother's hand and you gave me nothing. And he was just in awe. And I was like, I told you, you needed to do that to get a piece of candy. He's like, but there's nothing. And so that was where 0 was just a really brand new thing for him. Mariel. Negatives, awesome. So and then as they get older, they can start understanding you owe me something. And that's where we get to integers. So integers are all of your whole numbers, but they include the negative values. So you have your natural numbers, which are your counting numbers, 0, which include your whole numbers, and then the negative values, as Mariel just said. This is what integers look like. As you grow in your understanding of math, you can understand this definition. It says each negative integer is the opposite or additive inverse of a positive integer. Inverse just means opposite. So basically what this means is if you have the number 2, there always exists another integer that is negative, and we know they're additive inverses of each other. When you add them, they equal 0. So basically it's what Muriel just said, all the negatives as well. Then as you grow in your understanding of numbers, you're introduced to the category of rational numbers. I like to rethink of the word rational as fractional. So I'll even put that here and then I'll explain how that makes sense to me. So rational, I think of as fractional. And here's why. Rational numbers are all the numbers that can be written as quotients of integers. Good question.
It's division.
Good. Quotient means division. So if I'm looking at what does that mean, quotient of integers, here's an example of a quotient of integers. 1 divided by 3. Also known as 1/3. Also known as a fraction. So rather than saying quotients of integers like math textbooks say, we could just think fractions. It's all the numbers that can be written as a fraction. Now we also have to look at the decimal equivalents because you might see 1/3 written in a different way. What's the decimal equivalent of 1/3? 0.3 repeating. So if I saw 0.3 repeating on a page, I have to know that that decimal can be written as a fraction, as 1/3. So if you're looking at decimals, or if we look here, because all fractions can be converted to decimals, rational numbers also consist of repeating decimals. Just like that example we saw, 1/3, that could come to you as 0.3 repeating. And if it's repeating, you know it can be written as a fraction. Or let's think about this fraction. What about 1/2? 0.5, that one's not repeating, but that decimal can be written as a fraction. So we would say rational numbers also include the repeating decimals, or what would we say 0.5 is? Just a decimal, just ends. So we say terminating, or you could say ends. So it's your repeating decimals or your terminating. Or you can say that ends, terminating decimals. Now, if it can't be written as a fraction, or if it's not rational, then it's irrational. Irrational numbers are numbers that cannot be written as fractions, as quotients of integers. So what do those numbers look like? Their decimal representations, or what they look like as decimals, are both non-repeating and non-ending or non-terminating. So go ahead and write in there non-repeating and non-terminating. Yes. You guys probably worked with one of the most common irrational numbers last year. Pi is an example of an irrational number because its decimal goes on forever and ever, and it doesn't repeat. Pi cannot be put in the form of a fraction, or really the ratio of 2 integers. You could say pi over 1, but pi is not an integer, so it doesn't fit as a rational number. Also notice this decimal here might look like it's repeating, but it's not, because it would have to have 022, 022, 022, 022. So irrational numbers don't repeat and don't end. More common irrational numbers are square roots, as long as you have a square root of a non-perfect square. So go ahead and write that in under the radical: square roots of non-perfect squares. Perfect squares are numbers like 4 and 9 and 25 and 16 and 36. A non-perfect square would be like the number 2. So an example of an irrational number would be like the square root of 2. If you tried to do this one on your calculator, it might look like the decimal ends, but that's just because your calculator screen ends. The decimal equivalent actually keeps going forever and ever. Okay, that's a review of the categories you should have learned in Algebra 1. Let's see if we can classify to which set or sets of numbers does each number belong. One thing that is important to note, and Peter just shared with us why, these are all real numbers. We are going to learn about imaginary numbers. It's a different set, but all of these are real. So I could just go ahead and say, this is, oops, I should probably do it in a bigger one. This is real. This is real. This is real. And this is real. Caleb.
Oh, what would a number not be?
If it looks like this, the square root of -4,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's
That-
negative?
it's a square root of a negative. That's an imaginary number. They're used to control cell phone frequencies and in other areas, but we haven't learned them yet in our math career yet up to algebra 2. We will. Good question. Okay, number 4. So let's see what we can gather from those categories we just reviewed. Can someone raise their hand? I got to get some road excellence out here. Raise your hand for road excellence if you can tell me what category or categories, you can choose one, you can choose multiple, that 4 is a part of. Caroline.
Natural.
Natural and whole, awesome. The number 4 was taught to me by Count Dracula. I know that's natural. It's whole because,
Oh,
ooh, and an integer, you got that one, awesome. All right, can someone else raise their hand? There's one more category that 4 is a part of. Does anyone else know what it is? This one, actually, I need to go back to the definition. Yeah, why is it? If I think about, for example, the number 2, how can 2 be written as a fraction? 2 over 1, awesome. Or if I looked at its decimal equivalent, could I call it 2.0 or 2.0 repeated? Yeah, so this one's a little bit tricky. All whole numbers, all integers, all natural numbers are actually rational because we can put them over 1, which is tricky. So looking at number 4, what other category would we say it fits into? Rational. Awesome. All right, letter B. Letter B, try this one on your own. Maybe look at the definitions if you need to read through them. Works. All right, raise your hand if you can tell me, what is the square root of 7 a part of? Peter? Nice. Irrational. And if it's irrational, it cannot be rational. So that's the only thing that it is. Good job, Peter. Yeah. What'd you say? Yes. Letter C. 1/3. What would that one be? Katie? Nice. Rational. Is it anything else, guys? 1/3? Nope. That's all it can be. If it was 3, then it would be whole, natural, real, and rational. And an integer. Letter D, -0.6 repeated. On your own, write down what you think it is. And then turn to your partner, see what they thought it was. Olivia, what do you think it was?
Sorry, real quick. Is it okay if you share your screen? I think this entire time.
You're kidding. The screen
No,
hasn't
no,
been.
I was taking notes though, so.
I was recording this. That's so sad.
Oh, I should have told you
Oh,
earlier.
it's all right. It's so not your fault. Well, if somebody missed class and really wants to hear the notes, they can hear them. That's okay. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, I should have told you earlier. 'Cause you
So
were-
sorry. Oh, it's
No,
so-
no.
It's because it like logged out on me and then logged
Yeah,
back in.
that it's completely
Makes it.
fine.
That's okay. All right. What did you get? Letter D?
I got, yeah, so I got real and then integer. Well, no, maybe it's,
Ooh, it would be if it was -6, which is the
Yeah.
next giving, that would be an integer. But because it's 0.6 repeated, it would be rational. But that's a really good clarification, and it might have been because you couldn't see my screen. If it's a -6, that would be an example of an integer and
Okay.
rational. All right, guys, -0.6 repeated is only real and rational. But before we move on to the next page, I want you to try letter E on your own. classify -6. And I know that I just added that as letter E, but see if you got it. John.
Should I move my desk to a mountain because my computer's-
Yeah, we are, do you think your computer will last 5 minutes? We're done in 5 minutes, that's the only reason. Because I just didn't want you, I mean, but if you need to, John, you totally can. I think there's one right back there if you want. Is there? No, that
There's
me.
one back here. There's one
There's
right
two.
here, but mine has.
I can
There's
just move my
two
desk
right
over
here.
there.
Well, then the 6 feet thing breaks and then we gotta put our
You can
masks.
right
That's the
here
only
with me,
thing.
that's right here.
Do you guys want to switch spots?
Yeah, I don't care.
Do you I'm sorry. Thank you, Sophie.
Yeah, I can switch to.
All right, guys, let's just talk through letter E. -6. What's the first category we could say? Katie? Integer. Awesome. That's good. There's more. What else is it a part of? Real. What else? Rational. Awesome, because it could be written as -6/1. Nice. What's another one? It's integer, it's real, it's rational, and that's it. I'm sorry, I tricked you. That's all. Well done. All right, does this make sense? Any questions about those? Okay, just so you know, my intent is not to move through all of the notes today. We are actually going to be finishing up these notes on Monday. So if you're looking at this like, we're not going to finish, that was my intent. So don't worry, we're going to actually come back to these.
So is the homework just for like what we learned so far?
Yes, I will adjust the homework after.
What was letter E?
Oh, sorry. -6 was integer, real, and rational. Okay, once you know about real numbers, you need to know how to operate with them. And we operate with them using a specific order, known as the order of operations. You guys probably remember this. Do you remember PEMDAS, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally? I'm seeing all heads nodding yes, which is great. What does the P stand for? Parentheses. Are you okay if I just write the symbols? How about E? What is that? Exponents. Good. How about M? Multiplication. D? Division. Now, if these both come in a problem, how do you know which one to do first? Good, left to right. And believe it or not, there are some countries that read right to left. So it is actually important that we clarify. We go left to right. What does the A stand for? Addition. And what about the S? Subtraction. Awesome. And same thing here. We always want to do these left to right. And the important thing to note about using your order of operations, you always use them when you're simplifying. And again, I'm sure you all know this, but you use the parentheses first and then go in order down. We'll talk about that note first thing on Monday, but we are going to start using order of operations with just integers. So a few things to remember about integers. What is a negative times a negative? Positive, good. If I have a negative, like if I look at number 5, if I have a negative outside of the parentheses, what do I have to do with that negative? Distribute, awesome. So if you look at number 6, what they've done is they've distributed the negative, which became a positive B, but then they switched that to call that B minus A, which is something that's valid, you can do. All right, the last thing I want to look at is number 1. Number 1, this is one of the most common mistakes I see right away in Algebra 2. Why don't you take a moment, try to solve it on your own, and then I'll show you what the answer is, and you can see if you made the mistake or not. So try number 1.
Teachers, pardon the interruption. When the bell rings to end 7th period, we will be heading over to the FAC for the school launch celebration. We'll see you over there. Happy Friday.
All right, if you got the answer, the correct answer is -10. If you did not get it, we're going to talk about it. This here should have simplified to -16. This one here should have simplified to +16. Reason being, this is actually the opposite of 4 times 4. It's the opposite of 4 squared. Or you could read it as -1 times 4
Is
squared.
it that way because the excrement is outside the parentheses?
Right, so we're actually just squaring the 4, not the negative. Versus this one, we're actually taking the -4 and we're squaring it. All right, guys, your homework, I know it says it on campus, but only under the description, so I don't want you to miss this. It's only numbers 1 through 6. It's gonna feel very short. It's supposed to be short, but do take the time to memorize those categories. That will be on the first quiz, like classifying numbers. So just take some time. That's under topics, which I will have updated on Monday. I think it's Friday. But just so you guys know, under topics, there's a unit calendar of pretty much what I predict the test and the quiz to be. I think I have it for Friday next week, but I could be thinking about my college algebra class. So I don't remember exactly because my computer logged out on me. It's either next Friday or the week after. But you'll know by Monday if the bell rings. Yeah. All right. Have a great day, guys. Go to the assembly. Yeah.
Frederick Kraske, please come to the office to pick up his book.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. Oh, that's
It's on the
great.
other side.
Thank you so much.